SCE.
Sorry, that's the
The school
Annapolis
board.
Valley School Board.
Okay.
The school board, Annapolis Regional Valley Center of Education.
You slap my wrist afterwards.
Just catching up with it, just to make sure I understand it.
Any other questions to
No.
this point? No? 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 Okay.
Under the protective services, fire grants are up by 20,000. That's because we increased them by CPI, so they would have increased by 2.6%. The police is up almost 200,000. That's essentially based on the actual complement. And I understand that they're going to hit our next bill is supposed to reflect the full complement of what was expected for 25-26. So with that, we've adjusted the base rate and then we've increased it by 5%. Typically, the police charges tend to go up around 5% every year, unless something major happens. Under building and fire inspection.
Question, hold on.
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this or not, but we were supposed to put one officer in this year, and that's what I see. But Middleton was supposed to put one in too. Is this?
So I can speak to that a little bit. So actually, we're supposed to put 2 officers in this year. We're paying 75% of 2 officers, so we would have had to pay 1.5. Middleton would have paid the difference. So we've had some discussions, and again, I just found that out a couple weeks ago that it was supposed to be 4, 2, and 2 for a total of 8, and then we were paying 75% of that. So I've had some discussions with the province, who's the ones that determine what the complement is. There is some concern. The province is changing their funding model. Like, we were supposed to get it in January. Remember the Minister of Justice was here just before Christmas and met with Niall and the warden and deputy warden and myself. The funding formula, they're changing it. It's not gonna be based on a per officer cost. They're gonna tell us what it's based on, I don't know. So I said to them, so if we went in right now and added 1.5 for us or 2 officers total, I said, we don't know if that's an accurate funding or not. And they agree, and I said, well, if you can, when do you think you're gonna tell us when the funding is gonna come down? They thought it might be, within the next couple of weeks. I won't hold my breath. But if we know that, then we'll be able to put an accurate number for our CMP in here. And it won't be based on a per officer cost, it will be based on the funding model that the province has allocated. So hopefully, again, like other things, we'll have an accurate number. So right now, there's not the additional 1.5 officers for this coming fiscal year in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the main change within the building and fire inspection is there's 21,000 increase in the building inspection training because we have 2 new building inspectors that require more training. I just want to make sure whether that I'm correct in that.
We currently have a building fire inspector currently employed for training, and we ask for the future.
Animal control, the 15K is mainly due to increases in the pay and the benefits, which is basically the 2.6%. And then of course, when I figure out the benefits, based on my formula, that's what's driving that cost. The bylaw, again, is about 16,000 due to the pay increases and benefits. We do have a percentage built into the budget. It's kind of across the board for increment pays, but we don't know who exactly is going to be getting them, so it's just built into the budget so that we have the money to cover any potential increases above the 2.6.
We have a question, Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Just under animal control and bylaw, GL 8100, professional services. What exactly is that? So we're allocating 26,000 for professional services for bylaw. What are the professional services?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know the detailed stuff that was.
Because we also have it under animal control.
Who did that? That's what anything that come about because of.
I can understand animal control, but bylaw.
I can't answer that, so anybody here that can answer that?
We can get an answer for you if you don't
Okay.
know today.
Because I just think maybe for bylaw is that we're anticipating that we have to pay to enforce a few things, like unsightly, we'll have to go in and pay for it first. Yeah, I'd just like to get a couple answers.
So I will say, if I may, that, you know, we anticipate talking about operations for most of the morning, and then we're gonna break for lunch, which we're bringing in. So there will be a couple of these little things that we can probably even get detailed
In between,
over, you know.
overlap.
Saying that, knowing that Paul's gonna have to do it or somebody's gonna have to.
No pressure,
Somebody else will find it for us.
So,
I'll figure it out.
Emma working today?
There's animal control.
thank you. Any other questions before we move on? Okay,
Carter. I flipped that, put on my spreadsheet for a second, somehow. Yeah, thank you. So under the bylaw, again, it's partly due to the wages and benefits, and then of course, there's almost 5,000 increase due to the increase in training. And under REMO, that is mainly due to our portion of the REMO readiness grant that we were receiving, I believe, from the province. That is our portion of it, so of course, that's a new expense.
question, Councilor Connell.
Just looking at the GL thing, going back to fire, under property taxation, GL 4035. It shows that I'm thinking due to assessments and stuff, that's gone up a fair amount, 900. Just 50,000.
I think the fire grants went up by CPI, 2.6, something that was brought in last year.
But this is the fire capital rate. It just shows an increase in it. And because I'm gonna get questions when I go to fire services. Because they wanted us to increase fire service rate.
So
But it's been increased, the amount has been increased close to 50,000. What would that represent?
Just based on assessment.
that would be the increase in assessment.
So that would be an increase in assessment, so 50,000.
So the rates don't change.
Right.
But because there's been an increase in assessment, which is what the rate is based on, that's why that number's gone up.
Okay.
Or 70,000, yeah.
So when I'm chairing that meeting and they're asking us why we aren't putting this rate out, I'll be able to say that that's gone up, whatever, 47,000 or something,
Based on assessment, yeah.
based on assessment.
7%.
So the assessment would have gone up if you're capped 2.6%.
Yeah.
And then anyone that sold their property, the cap would come off if it wasn't to a family member, so it would go up by even more.
So you're saying about 7%?
7%.
And I know my personal assessment in HRM, if I were to sell my house, my taxes would literally more than double. Because where I am in the cap compared to what my property's supposedly market value is.
And again, it's just because I wanna be able to answer them when they say we'd like to see it, county increase that rate.
Specific district
I wanna be able to say,
that
hey,
you're sharing, or?
It's for the fire services across the board.
Okay, I was gonna say, if it was specific, we could probably get to the details if
No,
you need.
no, I'm good.
Okay.
I just
Yeah,
had-
And that, so if I may, that's a good point though, because there's some districts where the assessment has gone up more because of the cap coming off or whatever it might be, so some fire departments may see a higher increase than other fire departments. The rate stays the same, but if the assessment goes up more in one fire district than the other, then obviously what will go to their capital account will be different. Right. Yeah, which again, we have that estimated, so we can provide that for you for that meeting.
Good.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay.
Under transportation, I think under the road and traffic, I know I don't have any explanation there, but I do know that the road costs this year are higher than what they were last year, and I do not have an explanation for that, because I don't know what makes up last year's budget. There's just not enough detail in the file for me to figure that out, whereas I can tell you exactly what makes up the number this year. As a transit, we are looking at a,
Oh, sorry, question, Deputy Warden. Sorry.
So just back to roads and traffic control. I'm just curious about how you get to the 430,000 for contracts and agreements, like what exactly is that? Considering last year we budgeted 182, but I see that we no longer put it in contracts and local road maintenance. So even if you add those two, it doesn't come up to 430.
Comes to 320.
I'll add it to the list. I can tell you what makes up the 486 once I'm done, because my detailed spreadsheet for the budget, I have line by line detailed calculations.
Which GL was that?
That was
When I look at last year,
8110.
I think they're both the same count number.
Yeah, that's Herbert.
Yeah, there's 8110 and then 8115,
Okay.
but we didn't put anything in 8115 this year.
No, we combined everything to
Combined.
8110 because of their contracts.
Yeah, so I'm just curious about what that, how
I can tell you what makes up the 486 once
Yep.
this is done.
perfect.
I can't tell you what made up the 300 and something for last year. I
Okay.
don't have those details. And
Any other questions before we move to the next category?
Yeah, frisbee's the same question.
Oh,
Okay.
under the public works facility, the reduction is mainly due to the West Paradise debt being paid off in 25-26. And they do allocate just a flat amount, $15,000 to each water utility for the public works facility. And under the fleet, there is a $67,000 allocation for the two water utilities based on the fleet, because we more or less capitalize everything under fleet and then allocate it. But go on, does anyone have any questions? So under environmental health, the county sewer admin, so I know that, when we did the budget, I sent out to each director basically how the wages should be allocated for their personnel within the budget. And so there's been some changes, that Public Works has made in the allocation of wages based on where the employees actually work. So you'll see some changes here, like for the sewer admin, there's an $85,000 increase because of the way the salaries should be allocated here. I think in the past, a lot of them were allocated under PW admin, I think it's called, cost center, and then that was only split between environmental and transportation. Really isn't correct. So we're actually trying to better allocate the wages where they should be going, rather than arbitrarily just split. We're also transferring $122,000 currently to the increase over last year to the store reserve for the county. Under the treatment, Again, with the allocation of the wages, it causes about a $47,000 increase, just on allocations. We are looking at doing about $90,000 for plant upgrades. And there appears to be a $35,000 error in the 25-26. I think that had to do with plant upgrades. I'd have to look that one back up. There's $47,000 for the building extension and SCADA upgrade, so it's just some things that need to be done that are included in there for the maintenance. Under the store collection, again.
Do we have any
allocation for
questions?
the wages,
None?
being properly allocated. We're looking to increase the maintenance on the pumps and the lift stations by about $46,000 for work that essentially needs to be done. I know that when Paula gave me her budget, she was giving me the bare bones of what she needed. She wasn't putting anything in that she didn't need. And there's also $5,000 increase for the lift station structure maintenance, and then we put $6,000 for easements that we have to pay every year. Under the Bridgetown sewer admin, again, $66,000 due to the wages and benefits being reallocated to properly reflect. And we've increased the transfer to the Bridgetown sewer reserve by about $44,000 currently. And for the solid waste, we have a reduction there, basically based on our portion for Valley Waste, and that has to do with the EPR. EPR reduction.
We have
Environmental protection,
No,
something.
Something.
I got that.
Okay, question, Councilor Connor?
Under the GL account, 9026, interest on compost carts, debt. How many years we got left in that?
What page you on, Buzz?
24 of the
Yeah,
GLs.
I'll look that up.
I mean, we got the interest and the principal of compost debt still at 60,000, it says. So I'm just wondering how fast we're paying that
I
off,
can let you know.
because that should be a part of our solid waste cost, is in paying off the debt, so. Oh,
It's on the list.
very good.
Any other questions? Okay,
Under environmental development services and the planning and development, we did have a budget line in 25-26 that was about $107,000 for contract work. But we reduced that by $57,000 because a lot of that work came done in-house, rather than contracting it out. So this is basically there, I believe there's an employee that is gonna be off for a little bit, so this is to help cover that portion. Under the recreation cultural services, under community development, there's an $85,000 reduction, because in the budget last year, there was $85,000 put in case you decided to join the Valley Grant. So essentially, this has been moved under the CAO's office with our own economic development. Under the sports hub, there's a $14,000 reduction, in 25-26, we budgeted $14,000 worth of repair work. There's nothing, I believe, this year in the budget for that. It should fall under the contract.
question?
For the Bridgetown Arena,
One moment.
So the 14K in repair work, was that due to the damage that was done
It was for the track.
for the track? So when the hub was vandalized, how do we do a report on how much that bill cost and who paid it?
Okay. Do you have an answer? No? Okay, we'll look for that. Councillor
I
Longmire, you
wasn't
had
aware
your,
it was vandalized, I guess.
Longmire, you had your hand up? Mm-hmm. I did, it's the very same question. Okay. Uh, Councillor
report.
No, that was fine.
W one, you're fine. Councillor Aguilar?
Good.
Okay. You're making me busy. You're good too?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
perfect.
I could actually.
Okay, there's a question.
Yeah, and not a question, just a statement. I think it was because there was a soft spot in the track that needed repair. That was that 14,000.
That was 14K. Yeah, but the warranty wouldn't cover.
That's right.
Yeah, soft spot, okay, very good. Okay, we're good.
Okay. And Bridgetown Arena. So there's a $40,000 increase in arena operating expenses. The number for 25-26 actually looks a little bit low when you look at actuals. If I had brought the actuals up, you'd see they're actually higher. And there's $10K because of a new refrigeration contract that was just recently signed. Under the Parks and Trails, again, this is affected by the reallocation of wages being directed where they should go. There's a $183 increase in direct wages, an additional $80,000 is being transferred to the reserves. $28,000 in maintenance and operation materials, there's a $15,000 increase for Jubilee Park. With the Bear River Comfort Station, there's now costs associated with that for about $15,000. But this is offset by $50,000 that was included in the budget for the current year for strategic initiatives that is not included this year. And then for the library services.
One question, Councillor Cranton?
Just on the Parks and Trail wages, I understand what you just said about it being a reallocation of how you did that. So would that have also been grouped in with like where the public works wages were as last year?
Yeah.
Councillor Connell?
So 15K increase to Jubilee Park, what was that expense? Or is that put in there for this year?
It's in,
I'm just waiting for Paula.
15K Jubilee Park would be for, it would be for ramp for the elevator didn't get installed, so instead of doing the elevator, they're gonna look at putting in a ramp. So we should get some of that money back from what we've already paid for the elevator.
Okay.
yes, question, Councillor Cranton?
And then just to confirm, I had the same question on the Jubilee Park and the operational materials, but if, when I hear the director just say GL 9463, the 50,000, you essentially reallocated it out of that category and identified it as those two projects. Essentially, you're saying GL 9463, strategic initiatives, the 50,000, so the last line, basically saying that that amount is being reallocated to cover the budget increase for GL 8010 and 7040.
I can look it up. I don't have my big sheet.
Oh, okay, well, I'll name them, because I think it's basically what, if I understood you, that's what you just said, was that the increase in budget for operational materials and for Jubilee Park, you're taking that as sort of a reallocation from what was budgeted as strategic initiatives in the same category.
I can look it up to make sure. I don't want to tell you something that's incorrect. I've added it to my list,
Okay, thank you.
okay? The library services are up about 4,000 due to the regional library's request. They asked for a lot more, but my understanding is it was agreed that we would give them a little bit more. And again, with the cleaning contract, the changes, it's increased by about 5,000. So overall, the budget, the revenue and the expenditures are up 6.5%. If you look at the very bottom line there, the total expenditures are 6.5% higher than the previous year. We get into the rates. So obviously, we have not changed the rates. The residential tax, the commercial tax, and the fire are all being held where they were in 25-26. The Bridgetown community rate does require us to do a calculation, and I can see this is my old presentation.
I was gonna say, that number's not right, Paul.
Yeah. I have to look them up, the actual change, I thought I saved it on here, I guess. I'll get you the new rates because those ones are wrong. gonna make me wonder if I've got these other ones wrong. So I'll put these away. Okay. There's a slight increase in the Bridgetown community rate. Sure.
I think the average impact is correct, Paul, but it's just
Yeah,
the rate.
the rate's wrong though, I thought I changed
It's-
that.
It's a fraction of a penny, it wasn't.
Yes. The rates for the Bridgetown community rate residential is going to increase the average tax bill by about $12. And it will increase the community rate by about almost 3.61 cents. The rates are wrong on here, I'll get to the right rates when we break, because I've been different, I didn't update this one, I guess.
We have a question from the deputy warden.
So just regards to the Bridgetown rate, it's always a heated discussion, so I don't wanna get it going.
I'm ready.
Yeah, right. So, I'm just wondering why it's going up. Is that to do with reallocation of
My
public
next slide.
works? But also, have we seen, obviously, we've seen some reduction in debt against that rate.
My next slide.
Oh, sorry, all right. I delayed that
And the
question.
next slide actually has the right rates on it, I just didn't change it here. So,
Okay.
depending on the tax rate, if we were to increase the tax rate or reduce it, on the residential, it's $176,000. On commercial, it's almost $7,800. And on resource, it's almost $8,400, just so you have an idea of what a penny looks like. This is where I changed the rates from. So the residential rate for the Bridgetown community rate is actually, it's 3.407 right now. It would go up to 3.4, it'd be 3.3478. So it's a marginal increase. The commercial rate would go from 0.5581 to 0.5660. 25-26, it shows you what the costs were. 26-27 is showing you what the costs are in the current draft budget. So we've taken 50% of the arena staff cost, which is, there's one employee that's split between parks and the arena. We take 25% of the dedicated Bridgetown Public Works staff, and there's certain people that are actually labeled as Bridgetown Public Works, so we take 25% of their costs. We take 15% of the fleet costs. We take 50% of the Bridgetown kilometer roads cost. So we take the total road cost, and it's a certain, there's 3 line items in my detailed budget that we take, and we take 50% of those costs to be used as Bridgetown's cost. So you can see last year was $37,250. I have no idea where that number comes from. Because the cost last year in Bridgetown, pick whichever number you want, one of them was $142,000, the other one was $180 something thousand. I have no idea where the $37,250 comes from. So I can't speak to that. The long-term debt repayment went from $47,000 down to $8,700. So what's really driving this is the difference in the road cost. That's why there's a marginal increase in the rate. I can tell you what makes up that 91,834. I can't tell you what makes up the 37,250.
Okay, we have questions, deputy warden?
So, I really appreciate the breakdown. Like, up until 2 years ago, we didn't really break down the Bridgetown rate. And then we kind of started to, but they were just, as you can see, 37,000 or whatever. So, this brings me to a question around the roads. Like, I can understand, because we have a lot of road work there and a lot of things that are usually caused by water breaks or this. And hopefully, as time goes on and we improve that road, that hopefully would start to go down. But my question is do we have a calculation of how much road repair that we spent in Cornwallis Park? So the only reason I point that out is we wouldn't own 24 kilometers of road in Cornwallis Park, but it might be close. There's no area right there. So everything that's done in Cornwallis Park is come out of the general revenue So I'm curious if we're doing a comparison for my own curiosity, because I'm gonna get asked clearly about this. I'm just curious about what we spent in Cornwallis Park that gets the same type of road maintenance as the Bridgetown area, but they don't pay an area rate, it comes out of the general thing. I just would like to know what that is. Please and thank
Okay,
you. Yeah, that's it.
thank you. Councillor Con.
I take the road cost as seeing Bridgetown sweeps, sweeping up around the sidewalks, extra snow removal because they don't want the snow on their lawns, it's being trucked away. I think they're getting their value because the village rate in Lawrencetown is 0.66. So,
I'm not arguing that point, I just wanna.
it's got no comparison to Cornwallis. We don't go around sweeping up all the little stones along the walkways through town. You know, when you drive through Bridgetown in the summertime, you always see our public works people working in Bridgetown. So, they get a fair amount above any other sidewalks, any other sides of the streets. In Paradise, you don't see them sweeping the dirt up along the edges of the road and where there's sidewalks. And in Cornwallis, you don't see a whole bunch of hand sweeping and cleaning up. And like I say, the snow removal alone. Because you see the snow disappear between the road and the sidewalk. Well, it doesn't melt. Bridgetown's hauling that away. That cost alone is phenomenal.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make the point is that the village rate is 0.66. And so, I know it's a contentious thing, but I also have fear of this new fire service thing. How are we gonna put all of our fire departments on the same page unless we take that $47,000 away from the fire support from Bridgetown?
Okay,
That'll be my question when we get into fire services. Because how are you gonna make sure that all our fire departments are used the same? And if Bridgetown wants to go around door to door and collect 47,000, that's one thing. But if we pay it and put it on a community rate, it's not fair to the other fire departments.
okay, thank you. I have Councillor Cranton, Councillor Longmire, and Deputy Warden. Oh, Councillor Oxner? Thought I'd missed somebody, but I couldn't. Anybody up before I abandon my list? Okay.
Yeah, I can understand and appreciate the question on the services in Cornwallis Park, but I would just definitely want to echo what Councillor Connell just said, and I can say is, having lived in Cornwallis Park for 21 years and having spent some of that time working in Bridgetown, I saw firsthand the difference between the two, and it's apples and oranges. It's not a comparative level of service, and won't expand further on what Councillor Connell said, other than I think he nailed it right on the head. It's not comparable data, and you know, there's all kinds of little clusters in the community where there's maybe little sections that might use this service a little bit more than that one, so I don't want to go down the area of going area rate for every little service in every little cluster in the county as well, so. But just echo, I saw it firsthand, I lived there, I worked in the other community, and they're more or less how Councillor Connell just explained, they're not comparable levels of service.
Okay, thank you. Who do I say next? Councillor Longmire.
So really just a comment, I appreciate what the Deputy Warden said about looking at a comparison. I don't know what that comparison looks like, but more actual services, right? Because it is, to me, it's concerning when I see someone sweeping off the sidewalk, and where else do we do that? And if there are particular staff that are dedicated to one area over the greater county, and although there is a cost associated to that, to the residents and the commercial area, all well and good, but it would be great to know those particulars. I'm not disputing the fact that there are some services that are definitely necessary and need to look different, and that would definitely be in the commercial area. You know, Bridgetown is a hub of activity for pharmacy and things where our seniors and peoples need to be able to access, you know, safely. So, you know, there's not a question there about sweeping off, you know, stone, salt that you could easily slip on, right? So I guess it is really about the actuals. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next, I have Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I'm not here to cause an argument. So, first off, I wanna say that I've lived in Bridgetown, well, actually, I never lived in the former town of Bridgetown. Let me say that. Nor do I pay this area rate. I only pay a lot of money for Bridgetown water. So that's why it's because we had a business. But in that 16, 17 years, I don't recall ever seeing someone sweeping a sidewalk. Now, maybe that's just the times that I wasn't there because I was whatever, but I've never seen someone personally sweeping. I've seen the county, when we hire the sweeper truck to come through and things like that. Yeah, I've seen that. And for the comment of there's areas that get small little things, well, I agree with that, 100%. But the plowing of Cornwallis Park is not a small thing. So there are parts that we can compare apples to apples. And I'm not gonna sit here and argue the fact that the Bridgetown area service level is higher than Cornwallis Park. No doubt. No doubt about it. 100%. But for the services that are equal, it'd be nice to see what that comparison is. Because I know that we're always having a discussion about area rates, and I'm sure there's other discussions gonna come in the future about area rates. But that's just one thing that, since I've been on council, I always question is when the base left Cornwallis and the county took over the responsibility for some services. Yes, it's completely different where a town dissolved versus the federal government said we're done. Different. And tax dollars from a town wasn't used to build, it was federal money. But we still had to take over plowing, which when we had it as a contract, it was a fairly large contract. And as part of that, snow removal was part of that contract. But now my understanding is that we're doing it on our own now and not a contract. There's still a cost associated with that. So that's just something that I've always brought up where there's some things that we need to look at comparing. That's the point of it. I'm not gonna say that Bridgetown doesn't get a higher level of service. Clearly they don't. And, clearly they do, sorry, that's what I meant. And they do. But they pay an area rate. Cornwallis Park does not pay an area rate. So if you look at the services that Bridgetown gets above the Cornwallis area, for example, they pay for that extra level versus Cornwallis Park, yeah, they get the snow removal or whatever. But if you compare the two and then paying an area rate, of course they're going to expect and want a higher level of service. And obviously they're willing to pay for it. But I just want to make sure that it's fair and equal. That's all I want to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Councillor Oxner.
I have a question about the staffing for Bridgetown. It's showing 25% Bridgetown Public Works staff. If they're dedicated to that area, should that percentage not be higher?
Do you know off the top of your head? I'd have to look and see who I have in there
Okay.
and just talk to Paula, because there is a certain group of people that were used.
Yeah.
that tend to do most of their work in Bridgetown. I don't know the names well enough to tell you.
There's 5 that are there all the time.
So that's who we'd be using, it'd be 25% of their wages and benefits.
But if they're not working outside of that area, why?
This is the formula that's being used. I didn't change the formula because you can't be changing the formula every year to suit
Yeah.
your needs. You need
Yeah.
to be consistent
It's just,
and have a valid reason why you wanna change it. So this is the formula that was used 25, 26.
Yeah.
Don't know what it was before that, 'cause I
Before
didn't go
that.
back. So
Okay.
I'm just maintaining how it was calculated last year, although the numbers are slightly different.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, next I have Councillor Hare? No, Harding.
Yeah, a similar sort of question. I see that 50% of the total fleet costs is 43,365. So that is the formula. So 15% of the costs of all the vehicles and equipment that are used in Bridgetown is factored into the community rate.
All the fleet costs except for the animal control and the rec vehicle
Okay,
come under the cost center for fleet.
okay, so that
And then
would,
we're taking 15% of that total
okay.
for Bridgetown.
And then possibly to the Director of Public Works. So all those vehicles, the trucks, I believe there's a plow truck there, that red plow truck that we have, backhoe. Are those assigned 100% of the time just to the community of Bridgetown?
No, I mean, all of our equipment is used to road to town. We don't have any equipment that is specifically for.
So it can be pulled anywhere? Yeah, just curious about that.
And again, this is the formula
That's
that's been used. I haven't altered it because this is what was done last year. I presume it was done the year before. And you really shouldn't be tweaking the formula every year unless you have a valid reason why it needs to be changed. And then you change it going forward.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harding. Next is Councillor Archambault.
Thank you. I just want to go back briefly on the query from Councillor Oxner regarding the dedicated crew that's there. They actually work in other parts of the county from time to time as well. I believe, for instance, they're on the patching crew since we started patching our own roads a couple of years ago. So there's times when they're not working in Bridgetown, they're working in Cornwallis, they're working in other places on the patch crew, for instance. Also on the water break pipe crews. I know there's times when that crew is working in other parts of the county doing that as well, just from that experience. Regarding the sweeping, so in the winter, when it's really icy conditions, they actually put sand down on the roads instead of salt. And that sand is what they hire, I believe it's loomers on the contractor. They come in the spring and they sweep that up. And some of that residual sand, of course, goes on the sidewalks. And I think there is some of that the crew does, like our public crew works on that a little bit. So that's in respect to the fact that we put the sand down and it's a mess and it has to be picked up, and I think they can reuse it. So that kind of speaks to that level as well. So it's not like everything that's been said here is actual factual. So there's times when those crews are working in other areas.
Okay, thank you. Oh, you did have your hand up. Thank you. Councillor Hare.
I have my own gripes with area rates, but I'll wait till later in the meeting for that. I do wanna ask though, the 5 employees.
Pardon?
I do wanna ask on the 5 employees, just for clarification, is there indeed 5 employees 100% dedicated to Bridgetown?
No,
Okay. Is there any employees that are 100% dedicated to Bridgetown?
no, I mean, all the employees work through, they're stationed out of Bridgetown, but they do work in other areas. But there's other employees that are stationed in Granville Ferry that do work in Bridgetown as well, so I mean, it balances out, I guess, to the rate, to the numbers.
To the numbers that are
the
provided.
formula.
I've heard some different stories, but we'll leave it at that.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay. No one else? Do I want to jump in?
Can I jump in?
Oh, Okay,
What do you?
go ahead. Well,
You want to, you go right
I'll
ahead.
let you go.
So this is when, at the start of the presentation, I mean, this is one thing that I do believe we need to look at. And I'm not, to be very clear, I don't wanna get into this debate, but we do need to consider, are we funding things through the proper rates in the proper areas? And I'll leave it at that. So I do think, and this is something that, you know, I think we mentioned it briefly the other day when we talked about the SWOT analysis. And I think that's something that maybe we talk about when we talk about a strat plan, because it's a big project. Like it's not a, well, let's just change it. That's not a good way to do it. There has to be a good analysis to look to say, you know, is there other things that we need to be considering in other areas? Is this rate correct? Is it not correct? Should it be higher, should it be lower? I don't know, I wouldn't speculate on any of that until we did a good assessment across the board to make sure that we are covering everything the way we should be.
Thank you for that. As you can see, the CAO is on that, and he wants to do it fairly and accurately. So we'll leave it in your court. Yes, Councillor Hare?
While we are on the subject of area rates, may I get into it then?
I think that's completely,
I wanna, I'll start by just simply asking for, I know I have asked you questions about this before, so I just wanna ask them again in front of everybody. Rob, can you please describe how maybe other municipalities have done area rates in the past? I know we've discussed a more eastern municipality that does a lot more area rates, and maybe even some past experience that you've had with area rates. Can you?
Sure. So first of all, I would say no two municipalities are alike. Everybody does it differently. But there are models out there that look at area rates very differently than we do. We tend to have, here's our rate, everybody pays it, with the exception of, you know, Bridgetown. And then there's the village rate, which is not us, that's the village decision. Some municipalities, and I'll just use East Hants as an example because I'm familiar with them. I haven't worked there, to be clear, but they have what I would say is fairly low base rate by comparison to most municipalities. And then there's a rate for just about everything that goes on top of that. So obviously if you live in Maitland in East Hants, you're paying the base rate and probably not a lot else, although there might be a few things. If you live in Elmsdale and you're basically paying the base rate plus rates that would be comparable to an area rate like Bridgetown. I mean, but it might be 2 or 3 different things added on, sidewalks or whatever it might be. And then there's others that, so it, you know, I can speak to Kings for sure. They had rec area rates, which was an interesting, I haven't seen that in many places, based on recreation services that get provided in different parts of the county, which is usually goes to like an association or somebody that's doing it, a village in one case. So really, area rates can be used for anything we can tax for, really. And you can base it on, you know, whether it's very defined areas. There's places that do area rates based on what I would call like kind of a bullseye model, where the closer you are, the more you would pay for a service. And then the further you are, the less you would pay for a service. So there's lots of different models that you can look at, and this is when Councillor Hare and I discussed this briefly the other day. I said to him, I don't disagree that we really need to look at it, but it is the type of thing that's not a quick fix. This would be a very big project that we would have to spend quite a bit of time on, you know. Maybe we could do it in a year. That would probably be a very good speed to bring something back to you to have that discussion. Now we can start looking, absolutely, if that's direction that, again, I would say that would be a strat plan item that we would want to put in, that if that's something that we want to do, we could certainly do.
Okay.
So to follow up on that, so I would like to see some action on this, and I wanted to see action ideally this year, but as we just, it's just, it's not possible, the pure paper, the logistics of it is a lot. But I do think there is some action we can have today. I know in the past budget, there's some things that were talked about, but no motion ever really went on the floor. So what I would like to do is just put a motion on the floor that, I've got it written down here.
When you read your motion, could you read it slow so that our clerk can?
Yeah. I'm gonna find it again.
I would say to, Counselor that this has been advertised as a committee of the whole meeting, just so you're aware, so.
A recommendation to council.
Right.
Yes. I can't find it right off, but I just,
Well, I have Councillor Connell that would like to speak, so do you want to pass it over to Councillor Connell and you can come back?
I can
No?
pretty well
Okay.
come off the top of my head.
Okay.
I move that we make a recommendation to council to give direction to the CAO to perform an area rates study in a timely manner so that if council wishes to take action
Hold on.
for the 2027 tax year, 27-28 tax year.
Okay, who was the seconder?
This is just giving direction to properly,
Move it forward?
yes, move it forward.
Okay, first, before we do that, I want you to read it so that he approves of the motion.
To add a motion to recommend to council to give direction to the CAO to perform area rate study in a timely manner, so if council wishes to take action for the 2027-2028 tax year, they can?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, seconder was? Councillor Oxner. Okay, questions? Deputy Warden, comments?
Thank you.
I agree that it is something that needs to be looked at, 100%. And I'm fully supportive of looking at that. However, I'm not supporting of the motion because I would much rather see us, like we've done in the past with various other things, that as council, we can, not through a motion, ask the CAO for a staff report on what could we do to look at this as a plan. Because I would much rather approve a motion with a staff report with all the implications versus doing a motion ad hoc, you know. But I do appreciate that we get the conversation started. But I would much rather see it that way, that we could potentially ask the CAO, or we could ask the CAO, to bring back a staff report, ask the staff to look into something, and bring it back, what month are we now, February? April.
So,
That's what I would rather see. I'm not in support of this motion.
are you thinking of an amendment to the motion?
No amendment, I just.
You're gonna, okay. Okay, Councillor Aguilar?
I agree as well that this is definitely an area that we need to look at. The CAO already said that it's on his radar to do that anyway. I don't agree with having this motion at this point either myself, but I do agree, and I think it behooves us as a council, all of us, to get this issue solved in one way or another that's gonna complement all the districts in the area. I don't wanna keep coming back every year and during these budget sessions and having this issue, which is basically all over the map here right now. I mean, there's not a lot of consensus. there's a lot of animosity from some districts, and I think that needs to be dealt with, and I think it needs to be done in a fair manner. Not just for the other areas, but also for the Bridgetown area as well. So
Thank you.
I wouldn't be supportive of this motion either at this point.
Okay, and
I think it needs to be done, but I don't think this is the appropriate time to do it.
okay, so you're not looking for an amendment as well? All right, hold on. I am now at Councillor Longmire.
And so I will just say, I certainly appreciate the generous conversation that's been had, and it is something that needs to be looked at. Year after year, we come back and we need a load and complain and try and find the details, and it's always in the details that we're missing so much of our ability to make any kind of action. So I think the manner in which the deputy warden and as well Councillor Egenbar spoke with the CAO, knowing that this is something that is important to this council, and it would be wonderful to have the details and just bring back a report and let us start there. So I would not be in favor of the motion as it stands today.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Connell.
I would support the motion on one character. Many times, we sat around this council chambers and we asked of something. In a year's time, we get told there was no motion put forward, no direction. We asked, kindly, can you do this? But we get nothing back. Putting a motion on the floor, passing a motion, sets the standard that he's not asking for it for next month. He's asking exactly what they're telling us. He's not bringing us back how we're gonna do it. He's bringing back a report on how to achieve or how to look at area rates. And that's exactly what he's asking, but it's in a motion that's recorded. And if it's not recorded, you sometimes go a year and a year goes by and he's gonna have a million things on his plate this year. And all of a sudden, because it's not in a motion, it gets lost in the paperwork. So I like a specific motion set, just given the CAO direction, exactly what they're asking for. But it's recorded.
Okay. Well, you may wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Warden. So I agree 100% with Councillor Connell. So I take direction from you as a group, and the only way that happens is through motions. So whether it's Councillor Harris' motion or a different motion, again, whatever council wants to decide, but that's how I get my marching orders. So whether it happens today, or it comes up in a strat plan discussion that gets approved, that gives us direction, like, I need to have it approved somewhere, so otherwise it's not on my list, let's put it that way.
Okay, so we certainly have to listen to the motion when it's reread. Now, Councillor Hare, it is your turn. However, Councillor Crenton had not spoken yet, so
I didn't speak after my motion either.
shall I let Councillor Crenton go first, or you wish to go first? You wish
I'll
to
use
go
one of my
first?
2
Go.
times just to make a quick mention. It sounds like there's agreement that we need to have action on this. And as we just heard the CAO said, action is only through motions. So we want to actually do something here. We need to make the motion, and instead of just beating this down the road to the next meeting, or to the next meeting, or to the next plan. I see this as something so very simple, just to make the motion, give direction. I had a huge long argument about the tax rates themselves, but really it's not appropriate this time. All we wanna do is make a motion to look into the tax rates, so we can have something in front of us, so in the future, we can actually argue on tax rates. So no, I'm not comfortable with just saying, oh, we'll just word of mouth give direction. We just heard that's not the case. Let's make action today. Can we hear the motion again?
We will hear the motion again, definitely, but from what I hear from everybody seems to be okay with looking at this review. Councillor Crampton?
I'm okay with looking at the review, but not necessarily the current motion. Simply because I know I could talk on it and have issues I want to talk about. I can talk quite a bit. Because I think it's gonna, for me, it's gonna raise more questions than just the area rate. And I won't get into those questions, but there's a lot of other factors that are gonna need to be considered. One question earlier today from a counselor was about pockets of where the assessment dollars come from. To me, that's something you do need to also then look at if you're looking at area rates and levels of service and things like that. And as well, we know there's other rate discussions around fire capital and you know, I won't say much more about that, but it's something that you may need to take into consideration, that if there's potential that there could be changes there to how fire capital is recovered, you don't want to make decisions on area rates and then have all that. So it's a much bigger discussion, and I trust the judgment of the CAO. I agree. I'm glad people brought up that a motionless way to do it. So from my perspective, if strategic planning and strategic discussions is already on the radar, I would much rather prefer discussions and review of area rates and tax rates or revenue recoveries as part of that, and I would support a motion along those lines, but the current motion not so much. I'd rather have it, I agree, maybe set something in stone, but I'd rather it be part of the plan discussions around strategic planning, because it's gonna be a bigger discussion that's likely gonna need special meetings.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else? Councillor Longmire?
And I think that's really fair. You know, it's a lot more than just talking about an area rate. That's a definition that's far broader and encompasses so many specifics. So, you know, I think after hearing from the CAO and his direction comes from absolute emotion, you know, timelines and things like that, I now see it more favorable. In the past, we've asked for reports, and then we've started from there to put a motion forward and to start working on and actioning. So I would be entertaining perhaps an amendment somehow that would adjust it that way.
Okay, so, thank you. Having no other questions, comments, I will have the motion read by our clerk.
To make a motion to recommend to council to give direction to the CAO to perform area rate study in a timely manner, so if council wishes to take action for the 27-28 tax year, they can.
That is the motion that is on the floor. Is it still confusing? You want to read it again? I know it's hard when there's no motion. When there's no motion in front of you, you really have to listen.
Just once more.
I know, I hear you.
To recommend to council to give direction to the CAO to perform area rate study in a timely manner, so if council wishes to take action for the 2027-28 tax year, they can.
Okay, so Tommy, okay, I have Councillor Aguilar's hand went up first. And Deputy Warden, you have 2 more questions and then we have to do something.
I just want to speak to the motion. So the
Perfect.
motion is talking about an area rate. Where? Maybe there should be an area rate for Cornwallis. Maybe there should be an area rate for some other district.
Yes.
I think what you're referring to here is the Bridgetown area
No, no.
rate.
No, countywide.
Okay, so
Oh.
that was your intent.
Yes.
That's what I wanted clarification. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Warden.
I'd like to use my question to make a suggestion. Would it be possible for us to take a recess and maybe someone would be more than willing to sit down and come up with an idea for an amendment to the motion to make it clear and precise? Because there's a lot of broad statements in there. And I think if it's too broad, it actually contradicts what you're trying to do. So if we could take a recess, I need a break anyway. So
Okay.
to put it together.
Can we just ask one question before the recess, gives us something to think about?
Well, you,
Just, Rob, with the way, CAO, sorry, with the way this is currently worded, how do you feel?
well, that will be discussed during the break.
All right.
That's the point. Okay, we're taking a break now, take like 5-10 minutes, depending
10
on
minutes.
your discussion.